If you live on or enjoy going to Holmes Beach, you know what the problems are: overcrowding, overdevelopment, and that damn treehouse. Richard Hazen and LYNN TRAN built their little oasis overlooking paradise. What an eyesore. The city has spent tens of thousands of dollars on lawyers and have gone to court to force the couple to tear down the abomination after someone, and we don't know exactly who, complained about it. Now the couple is trying to show that yes, you can fight City Hall all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, in hopes Justices Roberts, Kennedy, Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, Alito, Thomas, and Gorsuch will see the merit in allowing this shady spot under the tropical sun to stay right where it is. And joining us for more is Richard Hazen, LYNN TRAN, and one of the Suncoast's most experienced and respected legal minds, attorney Morgan Bentley. Thank you all for joining us. And Richard, I guess the first question is, and you know, Jess went through how you got permission. You say you got permission from the city to build it, but when the city first came to you and said, you know what, you got to take it down, did you consider just taking it down right then and there?
Well, I couldn't believe what they were saying, because we got permission to go ahead with it. Permits weren't needed. We built it. And then they come knocking on the door saying that you've got to tear it down. It just was unbelievable to me. And that's where LYNN took it over.
Well, they said 30 days to take it down. I was shaking like a leaf, you know. I said, what's going on here? Like 30 days? For 2 years, nobody said anything, and then all of a sudden, one day, we get this big 30 pages report, cited us for everything, and then give us 30 days to take it down.
What was your first step? I mean, did you find yourself a lawyer? When you said to them, you gave us permission, what was the reaction?
Well, when code enforcement came and gave us we got it through email first. We didn't have code enforcement came to the door. We got the report through the email. And then 2 days later, code enforcement come by the door and give us the notice. At that point, we already have Attorney LYNN represented us, so I just turned right around and asked him how to go through and work on, you know, and discuss this. We didn't talk to City Hall at that point.
Morgan, I would imagine that things like this happen all the time, maybe not with a treehouse on the beach, but people go into the City Hall, believe that they get permission to do something, and they don't get it in writing. They don't think they need it in writing, and then all of a sudden something happens.
Well, that's true. Unfortunately. And governments get a little bit more leeway than you and I would. So in a private exchange, if I tell you something, you can reasonably rely on it. The idea with the government is if a clerk makes a mistake, we don't want the rest of the community to have to suffer for a mistake by a clerk. So the government gets a little bit more protection when it comes to these kinds of things. So the answer is yes. Every single day, Sarasota County, City of Sarasota, City of Holmes Beach, the staff is getting asked questions all day long, and sometimes they don't get it right. And to your point is, it's folks like this that bear the brunt of that.
But there is damage. The damage is this couple spent a considerable amount of money to put up the treehouse, mm-hmm. So they will be out of money if they're forced to take it down. There's no liability on the municipality for that?
Typically, no. But then again, they've got Dave Levin, who was just mentioned, great lawyer, really, really smart guy. There are avenues to get around this. So you've got not code enforcement is just step one. It's like kind of the first inning of a 9-inning game. Is you've got code enforcement, then you've got circuit court, then you've got the second DCA. If you get through the second DCA, you can go to the Florida Supreme Court. This one ended at the second DCA twice, and so now it's only the U.S. Supreme Court that's an option. But you've got lots of avenues to fix this. There are after-the-fact permits. There are other ways to get this permitted. So it isn't quite as simple as, oh, we were wrong, we're sorry.
So now we're heading to the 9th inning. We're just getting warmed up, and we'll have much more on the treehouse battle right after we check the first alert weather. Welcome back. We're talking about the case of the Holmes Beach treehouse going to the United States Supreme Court, and joining us for more is Richard Hazen, LYNN TRAN, and attorney Morgan Bentley. Richard, why is this treehouse important to you? What do you do there? Why is it so important to your life?
Well, first of all, the tree itself. If you look at the tree, it takes 3 grown men to put their arms around it. That's how huge it is, and it's just, I don't know, I kept on saying, boy, what a handsome tree that is. We've got to do something with it. And anyhow, that's where it originated, and from there on, we just, we got permission to do it. And from there, we put our treehouse in there, and just sort of fell in love with it day by day, doing all these little things that we popped out of our minds that we wanted to make it look like a different treehouse, something that we would enjoy being in and everything. But we use it for meditating, taking naps, watching the sunset, having evening drinks. We're the only ones that are allowed in it, except for relatives and close people.
Lynn, how much money have both of you spent in terms of trying to basically fight City Hall?
Well, let's just put it this way. We spent about close to $30,000 to build that treehouse. We wanted to make sure it's safe and stay put with the hurricane and everything else. And then we spent probably 5 times that so far to try and keep that.
Is it worth it?
To try and keep that treehouse. From an emotional perspective, it's a little getaway. I mean, we live on the beach. It's a getaway for a lot of people, but the treehouse is my getaway from daily work, because we work from the home. You know, I used to work in Tampa for like 4 or 5 days a week and come back, so it's that the publics are there, so it's a little getaway. And it's also what I don't get is it's all now property, and the city is telling us that we can't have any structure there. It's not just the treehouse, it's also just any structure, and that's one of the main reasons why they don't want us there, or they don't want the treehouse there. They don't want to have a precedent. Somebody built it on our land, and that's part of it is very important to me as well.
Right. So Morgan, explain how this works, because a lot of us live in neighborhoods where there's an HOA, and when you buy your home, you have to agree to abide by what the HOA says. But if this is a private property that's not involved in terms of those kind of communal rules, then how can the city tell this couple what they can and cannot build on their property?
Well, because they do have a building code. So the theory is, if I'm on the other side of this, I'm saying, look, that's all fine. You can do whatever you want, provided that you don't fall into these categories of items that need to have a permit. And it's yet to be determined, but of course the city takes a position that this is something that either needs a permit or can't get a permit, and therefore can't be built. So that's the theory, is if you were to just follow it's on my property, well then why would we need building permits? Why would we need any of that? And so that's the theory. HOAs are a little different because they can get into aesthetics and the color of your roof and the color of your front door and things like that, which is not really where code enforcement goes to. But this is kind of a classic situation, and it's been litigated a lot. After
they initially told you that you can't keep it up, did they offer you any kind of roadmap to how to get a permit to keep it up?
Well, we actually, at code enforcement, and then after we went to circuit court, we never object to getting a permit. That's why he went in and tried to get a permit in the beginning, and we're told that we don't need a permit. And if you look at some of the, our attorney looked at that, and he also said there's certain situations that they are exempt from permit, which is also true. Sometimes you do get some exemption from getting permit. So we said whatever paperwork we need to fill out, we'll do it. So we did a coastal engineer study. We filled out a permit paper. We did all of that, and we did an after-the-fact permit application. So we did everything that the city asked us to do in terms of, filling out documents that they need to do that. We even have an engineer to draw on an after-the-fact 2-level deck for submission. So all of that was done after the fact, and the only reason it was done after the fact was because we were told from the beginning that we didn't need it. If they told us from the beginning that we need that, we would have done it.
And it was denied?
And it was denied, yes. And the main reason they denied it is what I just said before, is it's within a 50-feet setback from from some erosion control line. So everybody else has 10 and 20 feet setback from their property. If you have a property, you have a 10 of 20 feet setback. For us, it's 50 feet.
So, and we should make it clear, Morgan, you are not representing this couple, but you are a great legal mind, as we really know. And
I should come on the show more often. I really like the lead in and that.
Well, I know you say that they have a long road to hoe here,
Yeah.
But what is the legal interest of the court in terms of the debate here and the question, the essential question that is going towards the court, and obviously different panels have not agreed to hear it.
Right. Okay. So they have raised a lot of issues. Dave Levin, who's their lawyer, has done a fantastic job. I mean, no stone has been left unturned on this. So it's really a question of separation of powers. That's what it ultimately comes down to. Is there a governmental interest? Is it a reasonable governmental interest? Is there some reason to set aside that governmental interest? Those are the issues that the court has to deal with. And to date, the answer has been yes, there's a governmental interest, and no, there's no reason to set it aside, like estoppel or waiver or one of those kinds of arguments. They have a really interesting one, though, which is unique to them, is this idea of a ballot initiative. Is they actually went and said, why don't we just put it on the ballot and let everyone vote on it? And actually seemed like a good idea. I don't know who came up with it, but I give kudos to them. That would have seemed to have been a really interesting solution to this, is, you know, go ahead and let the people decide. That was cut off.
By whom?
By the Circuit Court. And that's really the launching pad for why they're attempting to get to the U.S. Supreme Court, is because that was a denial of due process in the argument that they're making to the Supreme Court. Really interesting argument, that one. So that one does not come up very often.
But what precedent is there for the Supreme Court to take on a case like this?
That's a very good question. Not much. The Supreme Court doesn't often get involved in local ordinance situations, number one. They also often don't get involved in things that are fact dependent. So in other words, it's like the specific situation here. If it's not applicable to a wider audience, they're really not much interested in hearing it, no matter how right or wrong they may think it is. They also just don't hear a lot of cases. I mean, the U.S. Supreme Court gets thousands and thousands and thousands of petitions, and they hear dozens. You know, it's not, they hear half, they hear dozens, and that's it.
So it is quite possible that they may have a legitimate due process claim and have no court rule on the merits of it.
Correct. That's exactly right.
So what do you do if the Supreme Court, in the end, doesn't even hear the case?
Well, we're not ready to think about that. I think I told myself we'll just live day by day, and we'll trust the Lord up there to help us out, basically, and we'll deal with it when the day comes.
And Richard, you've gotten a lot of media attention, not only around the Suncoast, but really from across the country on this.
I'm sorry?
You've gotten a lot of media attention. There have been other news organizations from outside of Florida, nationally, that have taken this up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yes.
absolutely incredible.
When we first started, we were on the NBC Today, the morning show, and they put us in with a little clip of Robinson Crusoe, you know, the movie.
Right.
They have a little clip that's really cute. It's really neat.
All right, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts when we return. And our guests join us right now for final thoughts. What do you want to tell people who are watching this tonight about why they should care about your treehouse on your secluded piece of property, and what is the big picture here?
Well, I just can't understand that going to City Hall and asking what do we need to build this treehouse, and them telling me there's nothing in the books about a treehouse. Go ahead, build it. Their exact words, go ahead and build it. Make it safe and don't let anybody fall out. You will be responsible. We built it, and now they've changed their minds. It's, I don't know, it's hard to believe for me. That's why we're fighting it. We want to keep it. That's all there is to it. We don't want to lose it.
Lynn, what would you say to the city tonight, who they've been going round and round with you on this for 3 years now?
Well, it's more than 3 years, actually, since 2013. So I would say if, you know, the government is an agency that we, the citizens, trust to go to for permits, for whatever else. So we go there for advice, we go there for instructions, we go there for that. And if we didn't get the right information, like you said, then we get into trouble. If we can't trust what they tell us, then it's really difficult for us to go there next time and say, okay, how do we trust you? And the other thing is, after I went through this, I didn't realize that there's land development code, there's Florida building code, there's all kinds of codes that we have to know that we're not trained to know. So, and then we have petition rights, and then we've got property rights. So there's a ton of things involved here, like you mentioned before, all kinds of issues that one of us just can't deal with.
Morgan, we only have a moment left, but do they have any chance that the Supreme Court would take this up?
Yes, they have a chance. And I pick up on what Lynn just said, is at some point you would hope, yes, rules are rules, but at some point you would hope reasonable minds would come together and figure out a solution to the problem without having to go through all this.
Okay, and we have to leave it there. And we want to remind people we did invite the city to take part in this broadcast tonight and to take part in Jess's report on this, but they said no. FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, that's because it's expired. Just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight, Richard Hazen, LYNN TRAN, and attorney Morgan Bentley.